Hey gamers, it's G from the corner, and we're hot off the heels of the Super Mario Bros. Wonder Direct, and everybody's wondering now, are we gonna get the usual September Direct? First few days of September, everybody's already on that Direct craze, but now we have the added caveat that we just got a blowout, just like a huge overview on Nintendo's biggest game for the rest of the year. Can they get away with not hosting a traditional September Direct? I'm gonna cut right to the chase here and just say, no, there's going to be a September Direct, guaranteed. In my mind, there is 120%. I see no reason why we will not be watching another big general Nintendo Direct. Probably, I think, next week. Next week, most likely. There's a number of reasons for that. I think we should just get right into them. Now, there is the obvious, they always do Directs in September, but why do they always do Directs in September? Why has it, since the Switch came out, why has it always been in September specifically? Well, it actually relates to another major event, the Tokyo Game Show. It occurs every September. Nintendo never really goes there with anything, but for whatever reason, since the Switch era, a lot of companies would like to, let's say, reveal games at a Nintendo Direct a few days to a week before the show, and then talk about the games further at the show. That's why most September Directs, they're kind of light on the first-party content, but usually a lot of Japanese third parties will have big announcements there, so they can talk about these games at TGS without having to have their own stage for the big announcements. If we look at past years, it's almost always a week before the show. The only two exceptions to this are in 2020, we didn't get a general direct. We got a partner showcase though, which, fills the same purpose. It's a show for third parties, so those third parties who are going to be at TGS now have something to talk about. And the other exception being just last year, where the Direct aired the day before Tokyo Game Show. This was kind of because of another weird caveat Nintendo's been doing lately, where they don't want to air Directs the same day or the week something else is about to come out. So if we look at the numbers every other year, aside from last year, it's been a week before the show. This year the show starts on the week of the 21st, which means that the Direct will be on September 13th or 14th. Now my one little caveat with this is that, they got the Pokemon DLC coming out on the 13th. I'm not very excited for it, but it's still a pretty big release. They've shadow dropped Pokemon DLC, they've had presentations on the same day as Pokemon DLC releases before, but I don't know, this time it seems a bit odd. A lot of people, I've been hearing from a lot of reliable people that it would make sense to have one on the 13th, or, it probably will be on the 13th, so I'm gonna stick to that for now, but if it's not, I wouldn't be too surprised. If we get another, last minute, it's literally the day before at 10 in the morning, I'd be kind of disappointed, because then it probably would be pretty hard to cover, but, I wouldn't be too surprised. I do still expect it to be next week, though, if anything. Which is actually really funny, because that would make the fourth Nintendo Direct since the launch of the Switch to air on September 13th. They did it in 2017. 2018, it was supposed to be the week earlier, but an earthquake happened, so they delayed it a week to the 13th. 2022, it aired on the 13th, and now this year, again, September 13th. It would be hilarious. And honestly, while that would have been my reasoning for it not happening that day in the past, they've done it so many times, I would not be shocked at all if I wake up on my birthday and see that Nintendo has announced a Direct for the next day at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would not be shocked at all. But okay, let's forget about the fact that Nintendo is promoting third parties, because really, if it was just about the third parties, it could be a partner showcase. We could get one. We just had the Wonder overview. We could just get a partner showcase. Why is it gonna be a first party Direct? Well, usually I'd be like, you would have to have a lot of games to announce to make doing a first-party Direct worth it. But really, earlier this year, back in February, I don't know, that Direct just sticks out to me. It's a recent Direct where Nintendo did not announce any video games. And I feel like there would straight up be more announcements here than at that Direct. For one, the obvious, their games coming out this year need detailing. I think mostly those could be done through separate trailers outside of their Direct. But you know what? Better to have a Direct so you could talk about all that stuff. Also hype up other post-launch stuff, Splatoon 3's big DLC expansion, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 6. Those need to be talked about, and I think a Direct would be a great place for them. But then there's also just, the games in general. The only games we know after the holiday are the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon port and the Peach game. Now, I don't think both of these are the next games Nintendo has coming out. That'd be a whopping 5 Mario series-related games releasing in a row from them. I think that's a bit too much even for them, honestly. I know we haven't had a Mario game. I think by Wonder's release, it'll have literally been a year since the last Mario game, but I don't think we need 5 in a row to make up for it. I expect the Dark Moon port to be pretty quick, though. That seems like such a January game. I feel like that will definitely be detailed here. The Peach game, maybe they save that for February, maybe they still talk about it here. But then on top of that, I could see some other smaller game announcement, maybe another remake, maybe something else for first quarter of 2024, because that's really what Nintendo does with these directs. You know, I noticed there's always like a stopgap they like to have things up to. For the June or E3 Direct, they can end it whenever. They could be like, let's talk about stuff up till next year. Let's talk about stuff till the end of this year. You know, doesn't really matter. But for February, they have that hard cut at the end of July where it's like, okay, anything past July, we aren't talking about. We're not talking about that today. The September Direct, usually Q1 2023. If there's a game coming out in March, they might not date it, but it will be announced by the end of that September Direct. But yeah, I guess, you know, putting it out like this, doesn't it all make sense, right? We're going to totally get one next week. I guess the one big thing is, why did they even bother with the Mario Wonder Direct, which, you know, in hindsight, seems pretty obvious. They didn't want to do a general direct before PAX, before this, or far in advance from TGS, but they did have Nintendo Live coming up at PAX this weekend, or last weekend at the time of this video going up. And what was at PAX? A demo for Mario Wonder alongside a crazy decked out booth with a huge display for the game. They wanted to market the game because it's their big release, and of course, they're not going to start doing that less than a month till launch, which is when the Direct would probably air. All right, they're gonna give it as much time as they feel necessary. And, you know, they were like, okay, end of August, let's just, right before the September Direct, do a big blowout for Wonder. That'll have its own, now everybody will be excited for that before we talk about the other stuff. And then that'll have a big thing at PAX, and then we can rest on that for 2 weeks before getting really into things. And I think it's very smart of them to do this. It keeps the momentum going. You know, usually Nintendo will have dry spells where I feel like there's not a lot going on for like the news, for excitement, you know. Usually it ends up being between the September and February Directs because, you know, 5-month gap, not really much going on aside from them promoting the releases that are imminent because it's the holidays, obviously. But, you know, clearing the gap between the February, June, and September Directs, just filling it to the brim with information, announcements, releases, excitement like this. Very smart of them, and I'm glad they did this big blowout now. It's nice that I already know so much about Wonder instead of having to wait until the September Direct for that. You know, everything else can be saved for that Direct. It's nice to get it out of the way, and, you know, it doesn't really mean anything, again, for the September Direct. Even aside from just, like, Wonder, they've done, you know, other game-specific Directs in the month before September Direct, like just last year, Splatoon 3 Direct, August 2022, September Direct, September 2022. I know, obviously, that was closer to a month. This will end up being 2 weeks, but it's really the same thing. Everything kind of adds up. I don't see any reason why we won't be watching a Nintendo Direct next week, which makes me very excited because, heck yeah, we're getting another Nintendo Direct. I can't wait to see what they're going to announce. I'm excited. I can't wait. But yeah, it's going to be it for this one. I'll keep yourselves cornered for coverage of this Direct very soon, and I will see you guys on the next one later.